Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio. I'm back with you again. And you know, as I have a sob story, and I got to say it here. I was looking for a guest co-host today. I couldn't find one. And I searched all over LinkedIn. But finally, I was led to an amazing person who volunteered to guest co-host with me. I've been trying to find ways to use my sad violin music, so I had a plan for this whole thing. But here she is, ladies and gentlemen. She's here again and again and again. Yeah. Her name is Erica Leodis, and she's executive director of AFIT. Yeah. What's up, Erica?
You know, I think the first time I was on this podcast, I had like trumpet and fanfare, and now I've gotten demoted to the sad violin.
Erica Leodis, everyone. There it is. How do you like?
Why do I keep coming back for this abuse?
The sad violin was for me because I was like, who's going to just come crush this episode with me? And then, of course, I remembered you, Erica. And you've been back now, like this is the fourth or fifth time you've been co-hosting, isn't it?
You know, I've lost count. It's just been so much fun. I can't even keep track anymore.
Well, you know, when we get together.
Hold on tight. This is going to be a bumpy ride.
And mostly due to you that the bumpy ride happens, not me, because I'm a polished professional here and everything I do is perfect.
Clearly.
Speaking of perfect, I'd like to say that we have a perfectly dressed guest today. He's doing some amazing things. I've got to get him. Let me see if I can get him a proper introduction here, because he's ready to talk and he's far worse looking than me. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Dr. Charles Lloyd, and he's president of White Mountains Community College. What's going on, Chuck?
Thanks for having me. A great face for radio, they always tell me. So it's good to be here.
I bet everybody tells you that. What's going on? So we're happy to have you here. Of course, you have a sign that everybody can't see because this is audio only, but you do have a sign right behind you that says, "Living the Dream." So you must be living the dream at White Mountains Community College. So level set for us. Where is White Mountains Community College? What do you guys do, and how do you do it?
I am living the dream. First of all, anyone that says you love getting out of bed in the morning, going to work. I mean, this is literally the dream. White Mountains Community College. We're in northern New Hampshire. We're about an hour from the Canadian border. Just to let folks know, I was talking earlier with Erica. You know, you're over in Maine hiking. Sometimes we are the home of hiking and skiing and tourism in New Hampshire and really the region. And we're a small community college. We represent really the top half of the state, from North Conway and Littleton, and cover a lot of geography for our students, and have roughly 1,000 students or so in all sorts of programs, from technical and trade-based to liberal arts, health science, and otherwise. So just excited to be here and spend some time with both of you.
So do you get Canadian students? Do you get a lot of Canadian students to come down, or do our students go up? I mean, do you have any trades with Canadian universities, or are you pretty U.S. based?
So we do not have any international students. Some of our students do transfer on, go on to Canadian schools, which last year during the pandemic, our student senate president transitioned and transferred up to Canada, but wasn't allowed to come back and speak at graduation, which we invited her to. So we had to video her in. So that was
should have known better. No.
Yeah, we should have known better. But we have a unique relationship recently with St. Jerome University. Just over the border, and we're partnering with them on an electric vehicle technology program. Canada is so much further ahead on the EV piece than we are, so we're borrowing their curriculum and setting up a pathway to go up there.
So give us a idea of the geography here. Or would you consider White Mountains Community College rural, suburban? Give us an idea of your classification and how you recruit and what the landscape looks like.
Sure, definitely rural. First of all, New England in general is rural. New Hampshire is rural. We have 1.3 million people in New Hampshire. That's the state. The top half of the county's 3 counties, roughly 4,000 square miles. So it's the top half of the state. But we're recruiting from Vermont and Maine as well are coming over. Some of our programs will bring students up from Massachusetts, and we have some local housing options here. And we have, for example, in New England, we have the only accredited diesel heavy equipment program. So these are our students who are working on trucks, they're technicians. So we have that anchor program program. And students, it's not atypical for our students to drive an hour, hour and a half to class each day. They're just used to driving because, they may do that to go to the grocery store. It's 45 minutes or an hour. That's how remote some of our students are living.
Wow. That's good. That paints a picture of grit too, right? Because your students got to be gritty to get there, to get to school and do that whole thing.
I tell you, I'm a student of Angela Duckworth, grit. I'm sure you've probably done some work with her, but our first commencement within the pandemic, that's all we talked about was the resilience and the persistence. We argued our students were gritty before the pandemic, and they still found a way to get to class and solve some of the work challenges and family issues going on at that time. So they're gritty, they're hardy, and as I mentioned, it's late April and it's still snowing up here. So got to be gritty to live through a long winter.
Speaking of gritty, my guest co-host Erica Leodis, would you like to come in?
Yeah, so I was actually doing a little cyber stalking before this interview. Hope you don't mind. And I saw a news clip of you talking about the shortage of nurses and healthcare workers and some of the work that you at White Mountains Community College are doing to help fill that gap in the workforce. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're seeing and how you're responding to that?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, workforce is the buzzword that's overused way too much right now, and everyone needs employees, including the college, by the way. We're supposed to be the ones supplying employees to all these great employers in the area, and we also need employees, so we're understaffed. But healthcare specifically, as we know, a ton of burnout, a ton of turnover, and we were chronically understaffed in healthcare before the pandemic. So one of the things we've done is, first of all, we have a nursing program. We continue to expand that, and we started an LPN program, which really is a borrowing from within the community college system. There is a system of colleges, 7 of us in New Hampshire. River Valley Community College in the western part of the state had an LPN program, and what they've allowed us to do is use their curriculum, i.e. their accreditation, which is the hard process of creating any new program. So we said, all right, it's really River Valley's program. We're going to put on the White Mountains Community College campus to solve some of that need in the North Country. It literally saved us years of getting accreditation approval, hiring faculty, going through that process. So really a true partnership with River Valley Community College. They've scaled it up to Lakes Region Community College as well. And we just got approval and $2.6 million from the state of New Hampshire to scale that to all 7 community colleges and really continue to chase down that healthcare shortage.
Wow, that sounds like a really smart way to solve the challenge in a quick, efficient manner. So during my cyber stalking, I also recognized that it sounds like you come from a teaching background yourself. Is that right? Did you used to teach business and leadership?
Yeah. So first of all, I went to Keene State College to be a teacher, a phys ed teacher, albeit, 20 plus years ago. And once I came out and started working in higher ed, I also pursued other degrees and started teaching, first of all, at the community college level, now at the graduate level, in business, in leadership. And, it's one of those, the sign behind me, people can't see the live in the dream. It's the why you do what you do. You get to share your craft, but it also keeps us fresh. We've got to go out and whether it's cyber stalking like you do all day, or if it's actually reading, peer-reviewed articles. We're always trying to learn a little bit and share our craft.
We're going to have to talk about the cyber stalking thing, Eric.
Yeah, it makes me feel dirty. First of all, Eric, I just feel like I need a shower after this.
Okay, technically it was research. I was researching you. I wanted to come, Joe likes to come to these conversations unprepared. I like to come prepared.
Absolutely.
Okay. I like
Suddenly no sound effects. Interesting.
I didn't know how to react. I was not prepared for that. Thank you.
That's
See, the dishing goes both ways, Joe.
Yeah. Talk to Chuck, community colleges, it's been up and it's been down, the enrollment, down 10% during the pandemic. For rural community colleges in particular, I think it was even worse. Students, especially when you have commuter students, at a 45-minute to an hour distance, it's really easy to find a bunch of reasons that you can't make the drive to school. It's not even the fender bender you got in last week, which would happen in normal circumstances, and you get a $300 bill for students maybe from a lower economic background who just go, you know what, I can't do this anymore. These things are overwhelming for me. But you add in the pandemic, you add in the enrollment declines, you add in the rural situation that you're in. What's the outlook, and how are things going with getting students back, re-engaging them at all levels? I mean, talk about that work that you're doing, because I know it takes a village.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And there's several angles to this. First of all, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. 10% decline over the last couple of years with community colleges. We've been more in the 5 or 6%. I hate to say it this way, is two things. One, we are the only game in town. There is not another higher ed option. So if students want to go to college, they are coming to us, number one. Number two, we have what I call the worst business model in the universe. We have to be all things to all people. If there is a new employer that moves into the area, we've got to find a way to solve that workforce demand. If there's someone looking for a program, we have to solve that. So, as far as access for our students, the best thing that has happened is the federal money that's poured in here. I always say this year my magic numbers are 54. 54% of our students are Pell eligible. Over half of our students can show up and essentially go to college for free. You pile on top of that federal funding, and students were frankly getting paid to go to college these last couple of years. That has been helpful. We have been, talking with our K-12 counterparts and folks out in the workforce to make sure they know that's available. The other 54, the second, is our graduation rate. I've got to check iPads this fall, but I'm pretty sure we're leading New England again with our graduation rate at the community college level. So what that means is when students find their way in the door, we are keeping them. We have a customized one-on-one approach with students, whether it's helping solve life issues, food insecurity. We solved that this year by offering free meals for all students. I'm pretty sure we're one of the first ones to do that, free meals for all of our students. And for us, it's about getting them to that stage to get their diploma on graduation day, but also put them in the workforce. I just spoke to my nursing class this morning after they took their ATI exams. They all have jobs. They all have jobs already hired, ready to go before graduation. So that's our role, and it's a big one, but it's a very important one.
What's really interesting about what you said about having the worst business model in the world. So true, right? Because you have to do everything that everybody wants you to do. But I wonder if the consequence of that is also being very nimble, which higher ed is not. And, business comes in and you got to create a program for them. There's nobody else in the region that goes, oh, we'll do it faster. So you guys have to be that fast. And you have to be at the mercy, so to speak, of the business, which is expecting you to move as fast as the business does, which higher ed typically doesn't.
Totally agree. First of all, I agree. Higher ed, we do not move fast with anything. It's got to go to committee, right? Something has to go to committee somewhere to slow this thing down. But, responding out to industry, I think we've got some new tools in our tool bag, whether it's on the non-credit side of the house. Apprenticeships have gotten real popular. That way it's an earn and learn, because you're right. People need employees yesterday. They can't wait a year or 2 years for people to go through a program. So we've created some new apprenticeship models. One of them's with a medical assisting program down at Memorial Hospital, about an hour from us, and said, all right, you need to hire them now. They're working now. We'll figure out the education along the way, and we'll count their clinical hours as they're working for you. So we've got to solve it in a different way. They need the employees yesterday.
We need to solve your cyber stalking in a different way, Erica, but you can come back in for questions.
You're on probation,
that what you've described there sounds like a real win-win-win for everyone involved. Thinking about the workforce. So workforce is on my mind a lot this year, because over at AFIT, our learning design this year is built around talent and the future of work. And one of the things that our members are talking about is how they are seeing this increased demand for autonomy and flexibility from their staff. And so I'm curious to know what's different from a staffing perspective now, and a cultural perspective now, than before the pandemic.
It's completely different. I think there's an expectation of remote work, flexible work, but it doesn't work for all roles. It just doesn't. We're a very labor-intensive, hands-on type of organization. So we're balancing that. We're also, we're understanding that our students, first of all, don't all want to come to campus all the time either. where the student might have come 3 or 4 days in the past, they're coming 1 or 2 and factoring in a hybrid, an online course, and those types of things. So we're looking at our schedule and reacting from a staffing standpoint, saying, you know what, Fridays at this moment, we do not have any classes. If you want to be remote that day, balance out coverage with your counterparts in your offices. So we're trying to react to that. I would not say we have been proactive. Higher ed has not been proactive in this space by any means. It was the emergency, it's a pandemic, and now we're trying to get people to come back, and we're saying, wait a minute, we've got to, what did we learn here? How can we factor in the remote, the flexible? And one of our primary goals is to be an employer of choice. We want people to want to come work with us, and being inflexible is not a great way to recruit people to the region. And I say that intentionally around recruiting people to the region. If someone's going to come and work here, they're relocating 9 times out of 10. They're coming from somewhere else. So we're recruiting the holistic, are you coming with a family? We've got to, find places for you to live and those types of things. So staffing shortages are real, and it's about being, again, a true employer of choice with that flexibility.
Well, I give you a lot of credit for being so responsive, because in addition to that challenge of trying to be everything to everyone, now you've got all of these everyone's with all of these different needs and demands. So I appreciate the challenging position that puts you in, and certainly your responsive approach seems to be a productive one.
We're not perfect by any means. We're trying, and we don't. Every offer we make doesn't get accepted because someone's moving from a different state. But I think we're in a place where we know the variables and the tools we have to use, and we'll continue to evolve and continue to add more tools to that toolbox. We have to.
I'd like to note that Erica's never given me any credit, still to this date. So because of this, she is going to also play our game today. Erica, I think you've played before. Have you played before, Higher Ed Word Association?
I have, yeah.
Okay,
on the last interview I did, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of Higher Ed Word Association with your contestants, Erica and Chuck. This is where I give you a word or phrase that is higher ed related, or it could be higher ed related, and you have to tell me what comes to your mind and elaborate and tell me what this means for you and your organization. Chuck, this is kind of springing on you, but you got to be on your toes here, but I can tell that you're ready for it. And Erica, of course, since you're the guest co-host, you can't win. No matter what your answers are, but you could play anyway. So the first one, we're going to go to Erica first because you've played before and you'll get an idea and we get our guests prepared. So the first one for you, Erica, is speed. Are you preparing your answer?
I'm preparing my answer. I'm so sorry, I was cyber stalking.
You can't look it up on Google.
Right, no. Speed. When I hear the word speed, I just think of in today's day and world, how fast everybody, whether it's a college or Netflix, how fast and responsive people have to be to their customers' needs, whether that customer is a student, a consumer, anyone else. So speed certainly seems to be important in terms of the mix of things that you're offering to your customers. I think it's a double-edged sword because like Chuck was saying, in higher ed, we can't always react with the speed that we want. So kind of that double-edged sword comes to mind.
Chuck, speed.
Well, of course, my mind quickly went to the 90s movie with Keanu Reeves in it. One of my favorite movies of all time. But anyways, I'll leave
Unstoppable Bus.
Just don't go below 50. The important thing I guess I think of is through the student's lens of how quick we are to get email responses, or students want to know if they've been accepted, getting into certain programs, or how fast they get their grades back. I had nursing students at 9:30 this morning. They had a 70-minute ATI test. So at 10:40, they wanted their grades right away. How did I do? Did I pass? And it's instant gratification. And I think it's up to us in higher ed to make sure that is there, because that's the student's expectation.
Hey, everybody, head over to www.edupexperience.com, our website, where you're going to find all of the episodes that we've recorded, categorized, so that you can ensure that you're spending your time listening to the podcasts that are most important to you. You're going to see the reviews of our podcasts, the shows in our network, our partners, and a section on starter episodes. If you're new to the EdUp experience, listen to those starter episodes and get a feel for how the podcast has evolved over time and our impact in the world. www.edupexperience.com. All right, Chuck, now that you're warmed up, this could be an extension of that, but your next one is innovation.
Ooh. Do I get this one first, or do we go to Stockerson there?
No, you got to take this one first.
I've gotten a bad reputation on
Erica,
this
interview. Episode is gonna lives on
let's
forever.
Let's edit out everything on this interview.
Well, we have 30 seconds left of content. I don't know that we could do that, but innovation. I think it's the old Gretzky, skating to where we think the puck is going to be. And sorry for the sports analogy, but I just think it's, if we spend all of our time trying to catch up and be reactive, as we were just talking about, we're almost staying afloat, where we'd like to get in front of this. So if it's a new academic program, if it's a new partnership, if it's a new way to, finding grant funding to support all of our students' basic needs for food insecurity, I think we've got to get in front of things. And I use proactive, as another term with innovation. So it's getting in front of, what else is coming.
Sports analogies are allowed. You did coach men's basketball. Is that correct?
You got it. What did Erica just text you that?
Oh my God, Chuck! I can't wait to have you come co-host with me. It's going to be fun. Erica, innovation.
Well, innovation's a great word. It's in our name, the Alliance for Innovation and Transformation. And when I think innovation, one of the things that we do, and really our purpose for being at AFIT, is to introduce community college presidents like Chuck, like so many of our members, to innovative ideas, but from learning partners outside of higher education. So our members are often learning from Apple and Microsoft and Kimberly-Clark Healthcare and Southwest Airlines to learn about the models that they're using. And that helps inspire innovation within higher education by learning from those models outside of higher education. So that's what I think of when I think of innovation.
Okay, next one for you, Chuck. 21st century skills.
21st century skills. I think the easy part, the softball you just threw me, is skills, right? Focusing on skills, not degrees. And understanding that people learn skills in a variety of ways and places. So, I've seen a lot of research recently that employers are getting rid of the bachelor's degree requirement or certain degrees, and they're looking for skills. So it's important for us to say, how do we look at, first of all, assessing skills? So whether it's prior learning assessment, using experience to align into stackable credentials and being able to award those, but also the soft skills, which I hate saying soft skills. That doesn't mean that there are some skills that are hard. I call them life skills. Of how do you balance in the technical skills with the time management, the showing up on time, the ability to run a meeting, and some of those balances. So in the 21st century, skills are going to be less about paper and diplomas. They're going to be about being a holistic, a well-rounded person, but also being able to have a tangible trade simultaneous with being a person with life skills, which I'll get away from the soft skills thing. I don't like soft skills, life skills.
Erica, this same one to you, 21st century skills, and you've talked to a lot of learning partners out there in this space. I'm sure you have some good insight on this one.
Yeah, so the first place my mind went was kind of back to workforce. So much is changing in higher ed that what a lot of our members are seeing is that their staff don't necessarily have the right skills or the up-to-date skills in order to be able to continue serving the institution of the future. And so we talk a lot about reskilling and upskilling and making sure that folks stay current so they can serve students to the best of their ability.
Love it. Okay. So this last one is kind of a repeat now that you guys just got ahead of me, but it was upskilling. Upskilling, Chuck.
Upskilling, and I'm going to add a word. I don't know. I'm new here, but I'm going to change your game. I'm going to add reskilling with upskilling.
Oh, yeah.
I try to, first of all, in the North Country here, we were major in hospitality and tourism. And you know what happened to that sector during the pandemic. And a lot of folks just have not returned and don't plan to return. So we've got this group of people that don't necessarily want to upskill into that industry, but want to reskill and go into another industry. And we have, obviously healthcare, municipals, education. We've got, other places here. So people, it's about, identifying what people are interested in, providing the just-in-time training, and making sure they've got a job right after that upskilling or reskilling, depending on which direction they're going. Back to your upskilling piece. I mean, it also depends at which level of the career ladder they want to, manage it and wind up at.
I love it. Erica, upskilling.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
reskilling.
the first word that comes to mind when I hear both of those terms is opportunity. And Chuck really nailed it with talking about, thinking about what people are interested in and kind of helping them get to that new future through these upskilling and reskilling opportunities.
Love it. Well, you guys are awesome at this game, and I would like to tell you that you've won nothing today here on the EdUp Experience podcast.
But did I beat Erica? I mean, did I win somehow?
Of course.
Yeah, the guest can't win. The guest only wins. The guest co-host cannot win. So
undefeated.
It doesn't matter whether you're
congratulations.
Your answers were great. Yeah, congratulations.
100%.
All the praise goes to Chuck on this one. But the reason I like Higher Ed Word Association is because it brings up a lot. You just one word and then you just get these insights. The funny thing about, going back to our previous theme, when we were talking about being all things to all people, and you've got a statement on your website that kind of says it. And it says, whether you're a recent high school grad preparing for the workforce or planning to transfer to a four-year college or university, or an adult learner looking to upgrade skills or start a new career path, we have what you need to be successful. And that is it, right? That's that statement. The funny part is, and we're battling in higher ed, or maybe not battling, we're in this degree or no degree space. Degrees aren't worth as much as they used to be. You can become Elon Musk without a college degree. How many Elon Musks are there? Should I get a college degree? What if I never use it? Is it worth taking on? Community colleges, I think in particular, are right at the center of this because you do both very well. You can upskill and reskill, and you can offer a degree. And I just go, Chuck, how do you work through this value conversation with students, and where does it end up? And is it all over the place? I mean, just it's a fascinating thing, especially, and this is a long question, when you add in people of color, lower economic backgrounds, where we say the path to generational wealth is through education, simultaneously say, don't go get a degree. There's no ROI. What do you do? I mean, it's a tough situation.
Yeah, I mean, that's the age-old question. You're right. I mean, from our mission statement to really our personal vision and belief of, this is not a scalable answer by any means. It is one person at a time. It is case by case and understanding what their ultimate goals are. We can talk about social and economic mobility all day long and the importance of, education, but it's also personal development. What do you want to learn? Do you want to be better? What is it you envision for yourself and your family? We've got to start with those real foundational, I'll call them citizen questions. Right before we get into, well, here's the path to get there. We can map out a path for anybody, any time of the week. But unless we understand personal goals and where they want to be professionally and what they ultimately want to accomplish, we can't work backwards from a pathway. We have an intake and onboarding process that works with one student at a time. We then go through orientation, we do all of the pathways, and it is not necessarily a degree pathway at all times. It could be simply personal development, a few modules from different areas, and they are off and running their own business.
That's probably one of the best answers I've heard to this value question, that the answer is that it's not scalable. No matter what answer any of us can give, it's still down to the individual. It's their situation at that time. That individual's particular needs will be different a year from now or 5 years from now. So it's not even just based on the individual, it's the individual's point in time, right? And so you think about that, it's not scalable. So this conversation we're arguing, I would say, we do argue about it. You see these LinkedIn posts all over the place. Degrees are worthless, and and it's like, for who? For this, who are we talking about? But it does create a lot of noise for students, don't you think?
You're absolutely right, and it's not degree or no degree, and maybe it's somewhere in between. But it's to your point about it's not scalable, but. We have to. This is a labor-intensive organization and business model, and that's why we have so much. I mean, 77% of my budget is personnel. That's why, because we are spending so much time with individuals one-on-one. And oh, by the way, once they start classes or once they're into a training program, we're now spending so much time with them understanding learning and assessment, making sure they're walking away with competencies. So it's throughout the entire life cycle. And we have many students who will leave, come back, and in and out. And if we don't build those relationships up front to understand their goals and their needs, they just will not be successful. So that's why it is not scalable, but we've got a model, and I would argue community colleges in general, where we understand that people are going to be ready at different times, and also that learning is going to look different for every single person.
Gosh, I love that. The easy answer is to pick a side. The hard work is to look at each student individually, right? I mean, it's truly that. It's easy to say, oh, this way or that way. And it's so much harder when you get that person in front of you.
Right. And I'm sitting in the seat where I'm supposed to say the degree is important, right? That's job security. You're supposed to come here for the degree. But, our mission is we're a community college. We are a resource for the community, whatever the community needs. That is literally why we're here. We're a resource. And
the degree might be important, but maybe not right now.
Sure.
And that's what lifelong learning is. It's just that, I mean, that's as fast. I could go on forever, but I'll bring Erica back in because she looks like she's going to kill me.
She's done scrolling.
That's not true. I'm sitting here smiling at both of you. That's not fair.
All right.
Well, this kind of treads on a conversation that we're having a lot at AFIT, in terms of mapping out paths to personal goals. It treads on this conversation of inclusivity and accessibility. And, one of the things we were talking about on our last CEO networking session was diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what our different members are doing with regards to making sure that that paths and opportunities are available, not just for all students, but for all staff. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing in terms of DEI plans and programs at White Mountains?
Yeah, and I'll broaden it a step further, because the community college system as a whole has really engaged in this work. First of all, from our board of trustees all the way down, from adjusting statements to really forming committees looking at training, education, and also in New Hampshire, we have several different communities. So Manchester and Nashua, New Hampshire, have been refugee resettlement areas. We get a lot of ethnic and racial diversity there. Where in northern New Hampshire, it's more on the socioeconomic and poverty. So DEI looks different in different parts of our state. And I think we really have been intentional about recognizing that and then removing barriers. I mean, that to me is really been the goal of DEI, work across the world, hopefully, but across the state for us of, understanding what are the barriers? Are they artificial or are they real, and how do we remove them, and how do we level the playing field? And that to us is where the work really starts getting some traction, and we spend time. So this is whether it's within the classroom with our student supports, understanding where folks come through, and I think that's something we've really been intentional about throughout not just the last couple of years when it's been popular, but really forever in the history of our mission.
And that's really that's great to hear. And one of the things that we are often talking about is how this is not just a one-time initiative, but really needs to be woven into everything moving forward. This is not just, hey, let's do this one thing and then check a box, right?
You're totally right. And, I say the last couple of years, yes, we were in the pandemic, and I think more people paid attention, certainly the George Floyd incident, as awful as that was. And I think that brought a lot of attention. But, I'm of the generation of going back to, Rodney King, right? I mean, a lot of people think back to, there was a big, okay, what are we doing? How can we, a couple of years, it kind of like flared up, and then now we shouldn't pay attention anymore. And then it kind of comes back, and it's like, I hope it's here to stay this time. And I feel like people are really embedding this work and forming task force and looking at this, and I do feel like this time it's here to stay. But I would also say, I mean, this work is ongoing, and we also call it DEIB, is belonging. It used to be, and I don't want to go off on a tangent here, of acceptance, right, or tolerance. Like we'll tolerate, we'll accept, but there's a sense of belonging we've really tried to hone in on. Of we want everyone to feel like they belong as a member of this community, and we'll do whatever it takes to make sure people feel like they belong. Not that they're being tolerated. If someone says they tolerate having me around, how does that make you feel compared to the sense of belonging? So I think there's just some different terminology we need to work with as well.
Well, the fact that you're leading graduation rates in your state sounds like you're doing a good job of making sure that your students feel like they belong.
Well, that's part of that customized approach, right? That's not scalable. We can, send a message to everybody, yes, but it's the one-on-one, it's the relationship building and mentoring and coaching, I think fits in there as well with our faculty and staff.
So I'm curious, this is a little bit kind of off this topic, but what thought leaders do you look to? You obviously have a very inspiring leadership style. Who inspires you?
Oh, I probably like you and Joe. I mean, I probably cyberstalk too many people.
Oh, good. So I'm not the only
yeah.
cyber stalker on this call. Thank goodness.
Call me old school. Angela Duckworth, Simon Sinek, Daniel Pink. I mean, Randy Posh, God bless his soul. Just his last lecture, I probably watch a couple times a year. People. I get a lot of my baseline knowledge there, and then I'm literally just reading all day long, and it's fun. You take one nugget away, it's to me the most important nugget of the week. So.
And of course, you listen to the EdUp Experience podcast for all.
Well, I've only got through the 429th episode, so I'm 2 behind. I've still got some work to do.
Okay, well, you're ahead of the game. I'd say you're still ahead at this point. Just listen to the ones Erica co-hosts, and you'll be good.
Perfect.
But we
those are the best ones.
Well, yeah, they're up there.
Kidding.
You're good. You're good. We love having you here, Erica. You know it. Chuck, we like to ask the same 2 questions of every guest to end our episodes. I'm going to ask them both of you right now. You can take them whatever order you'd like. Number 1, what did we not say about White Mountains Community College that you'd like to say? Events, website, programs, things, anything that's coming to mind, graduation coming up, plug your college. Number 2, what do you see as the future of higher education?
Wow. How much time do I have?
An hour and a half, Erica's time. We'll sit and listen to you all day, right, Erica?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's automatic, right? Yeah, sure. The quick thing to plug, I'm not big on a PR. That's the one thing I learned when I became president is you are the leading PR guy for the college. And I'm not much about, talking about ourselves and what we do. But one thing that should come up is, we were invited as one of the top 150 community colleges in the nation for the Aspen Prize for Community College Excellence. We're very proud of that, just to be invited. We are not, moving forward into the top 25, but to be in the top 150, it's exciting for us. It was a lot of work to do the application. If you're familiar with the application process, and we had a whole team of people doing it, and it happens to be due like right at Christmas time. Not ideal. I got to talk to those people, but there was a lot of excitement around here of, our work is being noticed, and a small little town in northern New Hampshire. So I guess that's probably the most exciting thing to share. The future of higher education. This is if I had this silver bullet, I think I'd probably get invited to maybe one more of these podcasts. I don't know, maybe someday even as a co-host. But
Wow.
Future of higher ed, I think it has a lot to do with skills. I think it has more to do with physical places as far as employers, meaning we don't have to recreate the wheel as much. We've spent the last 50 to 70 years building out, we're replicating essentially labs that exist out in the workforce. And we're saying, all right, let's take all the people in, let's have them work in labs here to train, and then we'll put them out into a real lab and work. How come it can't happen at the same time? So instead of me spending $5 million on a nursing lab, can they do more in the hospital and have the hospitals who have the money build teaching labs as part of that? So I think there's an opportunity there. I think there's more to look at with the whole credit to non-credit. It used to be either you're getting the degree or you're not getting the degree. How come we don't equal to this?
He's cutting out.
Learning, and students are students. They don't have to be
Chuck, in true podcast fashion, we have a technology error, and your feed cut out there for a second, right when you're getting passionate about what you were talking about.
Oh, well, I'll go back to the credit and non-credit. It's probably where you lost me. You said it was unstable. I thought it was talking about me. I guess it's my internet connection.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm unstable. I get that a lot. The credit to non-credit side, we used to have 2 sides of the house. So if you're doing non-credit, which to me sounds derogatory, like you're just doing training, it doesn't count for anything, or you're getting credit and you're on the right path, like there's a right and a wrong. So creating crosswalks to say, all right, you did this many non-credits, you come over into credit training, and this is how we get you your badge, your certificate, and your degree. And I mentioned badging because the micro credentials and badging are becoming very popular and being recognized by employers. And we've gotten into that space with Badger, to do more of really packaging buckets of skills and saying they are worth this, and explaining that this is transferable and it's digital and it lives with you forever. So I see higher ed really finally catching up, but also hopefully innovating and getting beyond and partnering more with employers as we get there.
Wow. Well, this has been amazing, you guys. Nice job. Even with all the technology stalking, the feed cutting out, we still managed to make it through this episode miraculously. I hit buttons simultaneously. That's how excited I am here as I'm trying to find the right stuff. But that's what I do. Nothing's perfect here at the EdUp Experience. What is perfect is my guest co-host. And she is Erica Leodis, and she is Executive Director at AFIT.
Thanks for having me on, Joe. And Chuck, it's so nice to meet you. And I want to just say congratulations on being named a top 150 college by the Aspen Institute. Actually, one of our members, San Antonio College, won the 2021 Aspen Prize. And for what it's worth, Dr. Robert Vela, the president, shared with me that they had been on that journey for a number of years. So making it to the top 150 is an excellent first step, and I hope you continue on.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And, I tell you, this has been a ton of fun just getting to meet you both, talk with you, and, talk shop. I could do this all day long. This is the fun stuff, right?
That's right.
Likewise.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. His name is Dr. Chuck Lloyd.
Oh, yeah.
That's the button we picked for you, my friend. How do you feel about that one?
Oh, yeah.
He's president of White Mountains Community College.
Oh, yeah.
And he's how was your EdUp experience today, Chuck?
Loved it. Love to come back again sometime and just talk shop with you both.
Sounds great. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd.